Hello everyone. I wanted to do an introductory video to the staff for you, and we will get through treble and bass clef in this video. So the staff is made up of 5 lines in music, and you see here I have got one set of 5 lines up here, a second set of 5 lines there, and then finally a third set of 5 lines down here. I'm going to be using them all for different reasons. In music, when I draw a note on the bottommost line on the staff, this is the first line. So let's start numbering these lines. First line, and then the second line, the third line, the fourth line, and the fifth line. We always number the 1 at the bottom of the staff. If I keep drawing notes on these lines, I've already drawn a note on the first line. Now I'm going to draw a note on the second line, the third line, the fourth line, and the fifth line. And if you notice, I try to make sure that my notes have a line piercing through them. When that happens, these are called line notes. Then I can draw notes that are in between the lines, in the spaces, we call them. I will draw 4 space notes that can fit in the 5 lines of the staff. And the spaces are also numbered from bottom to top, just like the line notes. So this is the first space, the second space, the third space, and the fourth space. So now let's start talking about how to name these notes. When I name notes on the staff, I use what's called a musical alphabet. And the musical alphabet is just like our normal alphabet, except for it only uses the first 7 letters of the alphabet. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And it's like an infinite loop. So the note that happens after the G is just an A. Things restart again. So I can keep drawing my musical alphabet. Whoops, that is not the next note. My musical alphabet in an infinite loop like this. So the same concept, the note that happens right before this A in our musical alphabet should just be the last note in our cycle of notes. We can go backwards like this. C, B, A. So everything is just always repeating those 7 notes of the musical alphabet. But unfortunately, when we start to name the notes on the staff, it is not as easy as just remembering the names of the notes in alphabet order, because we have tricks on how to remember the names of the notes based on whether they're a line note or this space note. So I'm going to scooch this screen up a little bit. We're going to start with the very first clef that you learn, and this is called the treble clef. I'm also going to start off with my line notes, remembering that lines are numbered from the bottom all the way up to the top, and I should have 5 line notes when I'm done drawing my line notes on here. So a bottom line, the first line, the second line, and you can notice how there's a line piercing through the middle of each note, third line note, fourth line note, and finally fifth line note. So for line notes, we use a trick. The very first note is an E in our musical alphabet. The next note is a G, then a B, then D, and then an F. So you might have learned a trick when you've had me as a teacher in the past, or maybe you're a 5th grader and you've had Mr. Gardner up to this point, and I know that he teaches you some tricks as well. But the trick that I like, the very first one I always learn, is a phrase, and it is every good boy deserves fudge. If you don't necessarily like that trick, there's a lot of other funny tricks. And another funny trick that I've learned is empty garbage before Dad flips. Always using those starting letters as the start of each of your words for your tricks. I've also heard every greasy burger deserves fries. And another one that I think is fun to share is every great big dragon flies. So you could also be creative and come up with your own trick if that's what you'd like to do, something that works for you. But that's the trick that we use to memorize the notes of the treble clef that are line notes. Then let's switch over to the space notes. So remember, space notes, there's 4 of them, drawing the first one at the very bottom of the staff and then going up. And for this, we get to spell a word, and it is F-A-C-E. Maybe you've heard the chant, face in the space, because there's face notes and they're in the space. So let's write out that chant. Face in the space. And that's the easiest way that I've found to memorize your face notes. As long as you know how to spell face, you can memorize the notes of the spaces. So let's move down to a new clef. If you're a 5th grader with me for the first time, I don't think you've ever done this clef. If you are in 6th or 7th grade and on up, maybe you've done this before, but this might be just a review for you. So the next clef that you would see very often is called the bass clef. If you've ever been in a car before and changed some of the radio settings, you've noticed that sometimes you can turn the treble up and the bass up. Well, there's a whole clef named after bass clef, but it's not spelled like the bases of a baseball field. It's spelled like that, and it's not a fish, it's not a bass, it's a bass. And bass clef looks like a frowny face with 2 dots.